Adesh Adesh, Namaste. Today I would like to give you a talk on Tantra and the Yugas. So the Yugas are the cycle of ages of humanity. There are 4 Yugas or 4 cycles. The first one is the Satya Yuga, known as the Golden Age. The second is the Treta Yuga, known as the Silver Age. The third is the Dwapara Yuga, known as the Bronze Age. And lastly, there is the Kali Yuga, known as the Iron Age. So we're going to look at these briefly, at these yugas in turn, and where Tantra fits in as the ideal philosophy and practice for this current age, which is the Kali Yuga. Now, I must say first that Kali, as in Kali Yuga, has nothing to do with the goddess Kali. You notice the goddess is pronounced with a long R and a long E as Kali. Versus the Kali Yuga, Kali is pronounced with short R and short E, Kali. Kali, as in Kali Yuga, refers to the demon Kali. It is thought that the demon Kali is a product of a poison that was generated from the churning of the ocean between the Devas and the Asuras. Kali, the demon, is also thought to be a reincarnation of Ravana, the anti-hero, so to speak, of the Ramayana. So, now that we've established the difference between the goddess Kali and the Kali Yuga. So let's look at each Yuga in turn. In Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, this is the spiritual age, the age of spirituality, where the individual basically is directly connected to the divine and live entirely and effortlessly by dharma, by righteous living. Nandi, Shiva's bull, you may, if you've gone to Shaivite temple, especially in India, you would see there's a bull that faces the Shiva Lingam at Shaivite temples. And the bull represents dharma. And in Satya Yuga, in the Golden Age, Nandi stands solidly and firmly on 4 legs. So this is a full establishment and expression of dharma. If we look at the Treta Yuga, the next Yuga, the Silver Age, you can see already that the purity of human expression is starting to get tarnished. Okay? And this is where set of principles, of rules come into play to guide humanity. And this is the age of Rama, for example. Okay? So Rama, as we know, is the Lord of Dharma, the righteous leader, the righteous husband, and so forth. Nandi, in the Treta Yuga, stands on 3 legs. So by far, humanity is still mostly operating from the sense of dharma, but is already starting in the human character, behavior, starting to be some tarnishing there. In the next age, in Dwapara Yuga, this is the age of Krishna as such. We can see already there's a power struggle in humanity. And this is where Nandi actually stands on 2 legs. So here in society, during Dwapara Yuga, we have a conflict between dharma and adharma, between righteous living and unrighteous living. And we can see this in the Mahabharata and the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The end of Dwapara Yuga and the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Iron Age, is the advent of a disappearance of Lord Krishna back to Goloka. And Kali Yuga is the age of chaos, of conflict, both internal and external. And here Nandi stands only on one two leg. So adharmic living is more predominant than dharmic living in this age. It's the age of confusion, of conflict, of pain, of suffering, so to speak, because we have separated ourselves from our true essence. And as a consequence, we act erroneously, creating more pain for yourself and others. And this can be seen currently, for example, in regards to the climate change and how we have added to the climate change through our over-consumerism, from a lack of respect and our pollution of our Mother Earth, which gives us support and feeds us. When we look at the 4 yugas, we can also look at them from the perspective of the gunas and states of consciousness as well. So for example, in the Golden Age, in the Satya Yuga, this is a state of super consciousness and nirguna, beyond the 3 modes of material nature. In Treta Yuga, the Silver Age, this is the age of the conscious mind. This is the age of Sattva Guna, where Sattva Guna is more predominant. When we go to the Bronze Age, to Dwapara Yuga, this is the age of the subconscious mind. This is the energy age, the age of energy. This is the more Rajasic state of expression of humanity. And then we move on to the Kali Yuga. This is the age of the unconscious mind, behaving unconsciously, and tamas, the tamas guna, very tamasic, dark, filled with limited knowledge in regards to our spiritual nature, and putting that into operation. So, collectively, we are as humanity, we are in a certain yuga, a certain cycle of age. And this present age, we are in Kali Yuga. So during this age, we've had the incarnation of Lord Buddha to deal directly with the mind and how to view and interact with the mind. And there's yet one more avatar, so to speak, divine incarnation to come, and that's Kalki avatar. Now, we can be living collectively, for example, as per now in the Kali Yuga, but from an individual perspective, depending on our state of consciousness, we could be living in any of the 4 yugas. So if we operate from a super conscious state, where we live from the divine state, then we are living and expressing in the Kali Yuga. No matter in the Satya Yuga, beg your pardon, no matter what yuga is around us. So, knowing this, we have a choice of how we want to develop ourselves and how we want to express. Whether as per our environment and the predominant consciousness, which right now is a Kali Yuga, the age of conflict, both internal and external, or do we want to create our own heavenly state of consciousness for ourselves and hence for others? And to do this, we need to reverse the searchlight of our mind and senses. from the external, which currently is expressing itself as a Kali Yuga, the age of materialism, to reversing the mind and senses within, until we get to the truth, to the seer within us. Remember that projection is perception. And here we are projecting, in a Kali Yuga, we're projecting our mind and senses towards the impermanent. And we're making a God out of matter, materialism, possession, titles, temporary power, which eventually must be erased. A shroud has no pockets. What we seek is the eternal. And we're not going to find the eternal purely in a name, in the world of name and form. This is the Maya state of living and perceiving. So once we touch and experience the eternal within, then our searchlight starts to reflect the eternal, both within and without, especially when we become established in the eternal. Then it does not matter what age we live in, because we can be on a permanent basis in the age of Satya Yuga, of truth. And Tantra is the ideal art and science for this. And I remind you that Tantra is not contrary to the Vedic teaching. It is an extension, it is a prolongation. It is the current, up-to-date expression of the Vedas. Most of the teachings and practices of Tantra comes from the Atharva Veda, and therefore has its foundations in the Vedic teachings. The philosophy and practice of Tantra is tangible transcendence. It is alchemical in nature. It transforms the poison of the egoic sense of existence into the pure gold of a spiritual self within. Then we can experience true mukti, true spiritual liberation in the here and now. Tantra is a path of a vira, of a hero. We do not run away from anything. We do not hide from anything. We face every aspect of life with a right perception, from a perception of a spiritual self within. Our body, our mind, our senses, the world, are a vehicle for expression, for expressing the spiritual self within here and now. Therefore, for a realized tantric, we are constantly living in a golden age, whether it's on this plane of existence or any other planes of existence. For a tantric, there's only one consciousness, and the individual consciousness is an expression of that one consciousness. For the tantric, there's only one mind, and the individual mind is an expression of that universal mind. For the tantric, There's only one power. And that individual power is an individual expression of that universal power. There's only one existence. And for the Tantric, their own existence is an expression of that universal existence. There's only one life. And for the Tantric, their life is an expression of that universal life. And that's what gives rise to bhukti, to divine enjoyment. Mukti and bhukti. Spiritual emancipation and spiritual delight, without beginning nor end. Jai Ma.